There's a question. The sequence and interlacing of events for creation, can you review?
Ask her what's, 'cause that's, who asking that? Ask her what's confusing her. So, because that's a huge, what part does she wants me to go, what, what, can she make it more specific, in other words? Do they get the type message quicker than the voice, or what? Hmm? Okay. Um, that's what I'm saying, where to start at. Uh, the simplest way to look at it is that um, the way we understand it is that there is a God, or what we call the absolute, and and that and that is essentially everything that you can ever think about. But it exists everywhere. It is everything, and to us, the only way we can describe it as is a it's a static, endless potential of everything for manifestation, or what we call creation. So what I do, uh, I try to move to a simple explanation, but yet still stay metaphysically scientific, if it's possible, to uh, the Hindu uh, analogous analogy of it, and that's essential that you have this thing called Shiva, which actually means the absolute, and this is the all in all. Shiva is the all in all, and it is the endless potential of everything. Now, out of this Shiva, because Shiva is absolute slash what we call God, out of this Shiva, it is said in every Bible, no matter where you come from, out of this came a sound vibration. Now, in the Hindu, they call it the initial sound vibration, which they describe it in Sanskrit term as Vak. Now, in the Christian Bible, and probably in the Jewish Bible, several other Bibles, they say God spoke the word, and the word was God, and creation came about. So, in the Vedas, or the Hindu text, it's described as the word Vak was released. And this word Vak brought into being this thing we call Shakti. Which Shakti itself is power. Because with Shakti came movement. And anytime you have movement, there's energy, right? So I know we would say Shakti power, but only thing we're saying is power. But it sounds right to say Shakti power, but Shakti is power. It's absolute power, really. And from Shiva came Shakti. And from Shakti built the universe as we know it. From Shakti, you had the principles of Shakti. How you spell principles? Is that right? You have the principles of Shakti, which I told you many times. It's in my book as well. Which is you have Nani, which is an intelligent type energy, and then you had Chitta, which is a mind type energy, and then you had after that you had Prana, which is energy, absolute energy type energy. And then you had Amana, which is an energy of bliss or love, which preserves everything that came before it, okay? Within the cycles of creation. And then from the principles of Shakti, which was the principles of Shakti, is Nani, 1, Chitta, which is universal mind, and that's 2, and 3 was Prana, and 4 was Mana, all right? Right? From this came the Mahabhutas. And the Mahabhutas are the cosmic elements that the universe is made up of. So from that, you had from the cosmic elements. This is my eraser. It's gonna come in handy, Annalise. I think I left my eraser at my office. So from that comes the cosmic elements, and the Mahabhutas is, of course, Akasa. It's Akasa, which is the carrying agent, and is from Akasa you have Vayu, Tejas or Agni, which is fire, which is the third one, and the fourth one is Apas, and the fifth one is Parites. Now, Akasa is etheric sound, and then Vayu is a gaseous type cosmic element, which is a lot of people refer to as air, and Agni or Tejas is heat, light, or fire, and then Apas is a liquid type cosmic energy, and then the third one is a solid, Parites. So then from there, these energies move through the various galaxies, and then the planetary bodies. And then, of course, the lower life forms, which is everything, which is us and everything around us. Okay. Any other questions? Or did that answer? Now, this becomes the background for all of this. Okay? And that's why a lot of times when people go and study this, they say, well, the Hindus believe in multiple gods. When really, you could perceive it that way if you want to, but it's really not. They believe in an absolute God, but then when you look at the galaxies, the central suns of the galaxies, the solar system, which is the solar logo of this solar system, is our sun, and then the body, and then the planet, they are gods. They're gods to us because they provide us the material via the absolute to exist. So it can be misconstrued, that they worship in this, but what is the difference? Because all of this is only an extension of the absolute. Because behind all of that, behind all power is Shiva, is the absolute. So, and then from Shiva comes, there's no other questions? Go ahead and tell me what this is. From Shiva comes spirit. And then spirit brings about the soul, manifests the soul, because the soul is manifested. And then the soul manifests its body that it moves through, which is the auric body. And then everything, and then the life form, all the bodies that the life form will ever cycle through. They will cycle through it within the auric body. The auric body is that atmosphere to allow the cycles of reincarnation for that life form. All right? Now, the spirit is always with the absolute. You know, and it creates this soul in order to move out and experience life. And we can kind of understand that now, the way we do, the way technology is today, we create an avatar on our computer in order to go out and experience things, you know. So, but we never move our position, all right? Even scientists today are looking at creating robotic type avatars to go to Mars and other planets instead of risk the primary life form, which is the human, to go to take that long journey. So essentially, that ideal or concept is ancient. You know, when you look at the Hindus and the Buddhists and a lot of other religions, they spoke about this thousands of years ago. So, what's the other questions? And asked Loretta, did I answer her question?
Yeah, she said thank you. How does one process an increase in psychic senses without being distracted and or deceived? Or is that the lesson to discern?
Processes. Okay, you're asking me these long questions. I'm going to erase this, I guess.
Okay.
Let's look at that so that we can understand it. You have a physical sense or physical senses, right? All of us do. But with our physical senses, we perceive the world the way it is. Now, if some of these senses are impaired, then our perception is going to be warped, which is the case with with really the whole world. So, what happens with psychic senses is what you do, you merge the physical senses with the astral senses. Now, what is astral senses? You have an astral body, right? And your astral body, every night you go to sleep, a part of your consciousness move out of your body and experience the astral world. And it uses its astral senses in order to experience. What your job is through yoga, not 5, and merge them together. Merge is M-E, right? M-E-R?
G-E.
G-E, right? Not a speller. Okay? To merge these senses together. And when you merge the senses together, you get psychic senses. Okay? It's S, right?
S-E-N-S-E.
Huh? That's right.
Psychic?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's correct, right?
That's right.
Huh?
I think so.
So you get psychic senses, right? Now, if you were blind and all of a sudden you had an operation and now you can see, can you use your vision without incident?
No.
You can't do that. Because why? It's the same way when you transport yourself from your two legs onto a bicycle, a two-wheel bicycle that doesn't have any balance of its own, and now you want to move on those two wheels, you have to fall down, get up, fall down. You have until you learn how to balance yourself on that bicycle and ride that bicycle, right? So it's the same thing with your psychic senses. Once you begin to merge the two astral and physical senses together, and all of a sudden you're seeing psychically, or you're hearing psychically, or smelling psychically. So what do you have to do? You have to, through trial and error, balance the flow of energy through your psychic senses, or your sense organs that have been merged to create psychic senses, okay? So your depth perception is going to be different. Your distance perception is going to be different. All that's going to be different, because now it's a new sense. So you have to go through the trial and error of doing that. And this is why so many people who have psychic abilities, they sound foolish because they never bother to balance this stuff off. You know, they walk up to a person and all of a sudden they begin to see all these things coming from their aura, and it can be horrible things, it can be good things, and they get it all wrong because they haven't related this. You know, they haven't studied or studied how to use what they're seeing properly. You know, and of course, like I said, your thoughts are projected through your aura via the chakras, and embedded thoughts, surface thoughts, deep thoughts, and the psychic can see this in this auric cloud of mental and energetic substance. Same way you see clouds floating through the air, you can see thought forms floating through the substance, the auric substance, and you have to learn to perceive and understand what that meant. And essentially, that's what it is. You know, so of course it takes time. There's no fast way to do this. I believe in a more practical way of developing this is through, and I always say this, through yogic pranayama, visualization, and through merging these yogas together under some type of tantric method, which tantric only means to loom the yogas together in order to impact the body, in order to begin to merge these psychic senses together. And once you have merged the psychic senses together and you have taken control over your psychic senses, then you could take the psychic senses and merge them with the higher etheric senses of the upper chakras, and then you will go into a more spiritual type psychic awareness, you know, towards adeptship. Because the astral senses are in the lower chakras, and by the time you get to the etheric, you'll be given the answers of how to do that. Any other questions?
So, the 10 senses are touch, taste, sight, smell, hearing, movement, digestion, excretion, reproduction, What was the last one?
That's it, isn't it?
It's 9, though. I'm missing one more.
Well, you have a sense, which is excretion. Then you have the genitor. Then you have the feet, which is walking or movement.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's touch. You said touch. You sure you counted it right?
Yeah, I counted touch.
Hold on.
Excretion, digestion. Digestion's one, right? Or is that with excretion?
Hold on. Let me look.
I don't know. I thought it was 2 different ones.
It's grasping the hands.
That's different from touch?
Yeah,
So manipulating?
yeah.
Okay.
Because they associate movement with the feet.
Mm-hmm.
The feet is a sense organ, and the hands is a sense organ, and then you have your voice.
That's the 10th one.
Yeah, it's voice, grasping, procreation, excretion, and movement.
Okay.
All of them are sense organs, and senses. Physical senses: speech, grasping, procreation, excretion, and movement.
And those are all the main methods in which the consciousness interacts with the environment.
With the environment, yes.
So all of that information goes through the chakra
Yes.
up to the soul and then back out to the...
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, yeah. Because the soul uses the Kundalini as a vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, Kundalini is mind and energy combined together in order to produce consciousness. And it uses those 5 sense organs and senses in order to experience life in the various cycles. And you have this on all the realms, on all the realms of existence.
So the cities are just higher or more advanced or pure forms of the senses, in a sense.
The what?
The cities or the powers or abilities, whatever,
Yeah.
just higher forms of the senses.
Yeah, that's all. Because you have 10, if you look at it, and you have 10 physical sense organs, and then you have 10 senses that comes from the sense organs, that work from the sense organs, physical. Then you move to the astral, you have 10 astral senses, right? And then, sense organs, and then you have 10 senses that come from those sense organs. And then when you go to the etheric level, it's the same thing. You have 10 etheric sense organs, and you have 10 etheric senses. See? Mm-hmm. And eventually, that's how it works. And then you go into the mental body, and you have 10 mental bodies that translate those sense organs. Mm-hmm. And it keeps going until you go up and up and up and up. And of course you have the etheric body, you have the auric body after that, and then you have the soul, and then you have the spirit. So that's how it works.
So just like in the pranas, it's there's always so like this, it's the dominant prana, but all the other pranas are still present in the flow of prana.
Yeah.
Is it the same thing with the senses? So like say, even though touch is a sense, all the other senses are still present, just one particular energy is dominant in that particular expression.
Yeah, because if I touch something, everything is there at the same time. You know, in other words, if I touch this console, the first thing that I'm going to look at, I'm going to relate to is touch, the visual. You know, where it's what color it is, right? I'm going to want to know if it make any sound. I'm going to look to see if I smell something different. All those things are connected. You cannot have the senses disconnected. You know, even with the blind person who can't see, yet they can see. You know, the organ might be damaged, but the sense is still there because there are several other senses connected to that, you know. You can't have a physical world without having an astral world. You can't have an astral world without having an etheric world. You understand? And then you cannot have the physical, astral, or etheric without having the auric body there. You know, it's like when scientists look at a planet and they say, "Oh, that planet is dead." Why? Because they cannot see what?
The other realms.
They can't see the atmosphere of that planet. The planet has no atmosphere. So then, they immediately say, "Oh, it's a dead planet. You can't live there unless you create an atmosphere." Now, of course, the mystics tell us that a young aspiring yogi to become an adept, his aura is vibrant and it's beautiful to look at. And then when he's become, and then as he grow in his spirituality, his aura expands, right? And he has a huge aura, right? And when he become a master, he has an even greater aura, right? But then when he becomes an avatar, what happens to his aura?
He has no aura.
He has no aura. Because why? Now he's manipulating his karma, right? And he operates strictly according to the laws of karma. So what did he do? He pulls all the auric substance into his body, and he has an ascendant body now. So now he can move from one plane to the next when permitted by karma. See, and he does this so that he doesn't adversely affect anyone or anything. See, and everything lives within him. You know, essentially, he becomes almost a god to us. You know, he becomes this almost I don't know, a cosmic being or a galactic being, because now he's working strictly according to the law of karma. You know, and you know, he's not moved by the winds of the divas, because he direct the energy to the divas now. See? And that's the difference. All right, so we, you know, it all makes sense when you put it all together.
Is that why, like, your senses are present in everything? For example, you can touch something and be able to taste it, or you can
Yeah.
hear something and see the color that it's attached.
Yeah, right. If you when you build your senses up, you don't have to actually put something in your body in order to taste it. You can smell it and taste it. You can touch it and taste it. You know, and I mean, you begin to realize that in your early stages of spiritual development. You know, that you can sense something, and then all of a sudden, you, from the odor of that thing, you become almost ghastly sick from it. You know, and you did not eat it, but yet you did. You know, yet you did. It did come into you. So you have to learn to control those things until you can go around anything and it doesn't affect you. You know, but in the beginning it's very, very hard to control. You know, that's why when you have a lot of psychic babies that come into this world, you know, they come in the world psychic. They have a very hard time in their youth adjusting to this world because all their senses are open. You know, so normally they're known to be sickly babies, but really is not. Is that they are aware. They are aware and they're going through. They're feeling all these different adverse things around them. When you walking through, like nothing's wrong, you know, and the baby is feeling that. The baby is feeling. They sense all these things are wrong, and it's making them sick until they adjust themselves. You know, so you become a baby when you begin to develop your psychic abilities. You know these psychic senses open up to the world, and all of a sudden you don't know how to use it because you have to adjust yourself to it. You have to balance the energies in order to use it.
Do the etheric senses inform and advise, or is a mentor necessary?
I don't understand what you're saying about that. I mean, remember, you might getting that mixed up with the mental bodies. Mental bodies, you have a supraconscious mind, then you have a superconscious mind, and then you have a subconscious mind, and you have a conscious mind. Now, the superconscious mind is part of your higher self, and it does work through the etheric components. Now, your higher self the soul may use the higher self or the supraconscious mind to inform you through the superconscious mind down through the sub or conscious mind on how to do certain things. So, I mean, maybe that's what you're thinking about. But it's your higher self which operates in the supra and superconscious mind. They give us inspiration or guide us on what to do and what not to do via the subconscious mind and conscious mind.
Anyone? Feel free to ask any questions you may have. Remember, this is the last class for the year, so try to get in your questions now. Loretta, do you mean the mantra book or the prayer book? Loretta's asking about, it just says your book. When and where can I read it?
Which book is that?
I don't know.
The prayer book I plan to publish hopefully this first quarter of next year. The mantra book, you can pick the mantra book up anywhere. Just Amazon. You can go to Amazon and get it.
Are the soul and awareness synonyms? Awareness is non-personal, but can the soul be differentiated in terms of personality? If this is the case, what is then different in souls between people?
Spirit, all of us is a part of the absolute. But all of us is a divine spark of the spirit. All of our spirit is a divine spark of the absolute. And then that divine spark creates a soul. And that soul is the traveling body for the spirit through the creation of the absolute. So if you push something out into space, it takes on certain configurations because of the position that it started, and therefore it has its own karmic pattern. So the difference between my soul, your soul, anyone's soul is that the karmic pattern is different from the position in which it started. Now the Buddhists have I can't remember the exact doctrine, but the Buddhists give a very good explanation of that and how this domino effect of movements begins to set things in motion, and then we spend many lifetimes correcting those movements in order to move back through evolution to our point of origin, which is the spirit, which is the divine spark of the soul. I mean, the divine spark in which the soul came from. So, just common sense. I mean, my experiences would dictate that I need certain further lessons in order to complete my journey, and the next person experiences the same thing. But now, of course, there's something called group consciousness, and we belong to the group consciousness of this earth. So we share a lot of experiences, and we share a lot of positive karma and negative karma. So therein lies our familiarity. And of course, our spirit is part of the absolute.
Where does one find a mentor?
That's I don't know. I mean, if it's as the yogi said, asking, and all religions, asking you shall receive. So in the yogi and the Jewish and Christian faith, they would pray for a mentor. And now when the mentor show up, they have to be able to recognize that's what it is.
Can you review free will as it differs from freedom?
That's a big subject, huh? Let's see how I can. In simple terms, freedom is following the divine laws of karma as you know it. So therefore, you have to build yourself up. You have to educate yourself and develop yourself in order to do that. One of the ways to doing that is through the path of enlightenment, which is predetermine all your actions. If you take time to think about what you're going to do, majority of times you'll do the right thing because you'll think about all the people that you can hurt in doing the wrong thing. And if you came to this pathway, then you care about people, you care about things. So enlightenment is really predetermining your actions, which leads to freedom. But because why? Because you begin to follow the laws of karma, and you become an intricate part of creation, of life itself. Free will is deciding to just do what you want to do and not follow the law and have the wrath of your own karma blow you like a leaf in the wind. Okay, and that's what free will actually, if you take the path of free will, then you're going to bounce here, there, and everywhere because you have not predetermined your actions. You're just doing what you feel like you want to do, regardless of anyone else's position in life. And unfortunately, most mankind have took the road of free will. And now we live in chaos behind that. Mm-hmm.
So I wondered a lot about how,
Thank you.
as mystics, we're taught to control our imagination because it's one of our greatest creative faculties, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if someone is artistic or they like to create things, sometimes you let your imagination wander.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you do that in a positive way so it doesn't create negative impressions in the aura or thought forms?
No, as you spiritualize yourself, certain certain impressions, certain creative impressions from the lower astral realms will not, you will not be attracted to that. So that's something I don't think you really have to worry about.
Which is why some people's art is very dark
Yeah,
versus other people's.
because that's where they're hooked in at. Their mentality is there. But as you spiritualize your thoughts and your actions, then you're not attracted to those things. You may understand those things, but you're not attracted to it. You may even see those things, but you can see the darkness or the harmfulness of it, and so you wouldn't be artistically, you wouldn't be attracted to do those things.
So let's expand the free will freedom
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more and correlate that to, like, say, a government. If you're under an oppressive government,
Mm-hmm.
how do you discern what's the karmically right actions for you to take in that scenario?
Why would you look at it like that?
Well, this is video been circulating social media of these witches getting together and casting binding spells on President Trump. Now, I understand that is to be black magic.
Yeah, that's not right.
Right. But that's a utilization of free will and not so much of freedom.
Yeah, that's free will. That's not freedom. That's not the path to freedom, because you will understand that that a leader is in the position they're in because of the karma of that nation. Okay, so now when that nation decide to change its karma, that leader cannot be a leader anymore. It's as simple as that. That's where group consciousness come in at, and group actions come in at. So.
What are things you can do as an early practitioner to discern between the people who come to us to support spiritual growth and those who are not? For example, people saying, "My angels said to talk to you."
People are saying my what?
Their angels said to talk to you.
I mean, maybe their spirit guide did tell them that, but is the message for you? That's a question you have to ask yourself. I mean, don't think that most people who do that are just crazy. No, they're not. Maybe their spirit guide did send them to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, most people misinterpret psychic impressions.
So I guess they're asking, how do you discern between people who come into your orbit that are there to support your spiritual growth and those who are not there to support it?
That's something that that's where discrimination come in at. And discrimination and mysticism is very, very important. And you must discriminate between what is real and what's not real. And that's why I tell you that I subscribe to the more yogic method of development, because it have you to discriminate through through a practical way of doing things and see things in a simple light, and understand that everything is a science. Whether you agree with scientists, because I'm not saying that you use methods of physical science. You recognize the science in everything, in metaphysics, because there's a metaphysical science, there's a mystic science, and there's a physical science. But you recognize that there's a science to everything, and everything is a science, and that you discriminate whether this makes sense or don't make sense. And most of us know the law of karma intimately. Most of us have been here on this earth for a long, long time, going through many, many incarnations. So inherently, we know what is right and we know what is wrong. And the only time we don't is when we have sinking deep down into the different impurities of selfishness, lust, envy, and all these different emotions. So, but in your quiet moments, you know what is good and what is not good, and what is law and what isn't law. So those people who are not, who seem to be toxic to you, then you need to disassociate with them, and reassociate with them on the level in which they should. You should not give them access to your inner peace or environment.
How does it feel like to be in a meditative state for you personally?
I don't really need to talk about my personal experience, but I could talk to you about what is meditation. Most people get meditation wrong. And there's, most people call meditation contemplation, although I mean concentration. Although concentration is the road towards meditation. Concentration, you have to learn to concentrate, which means that you have to learn to focus the mind down one channel without interruption, at your will, and not be moved and not be influenced. That's concentration. When you can do this, then you bring about, you move into a state of contemplation, where whatever you are concentrating on, all of a sudden you begin to receive new information about that thing. And contemplation is usually accompanied with psychic ability. Basic psychic information or basic psychic abilities and advanced psychic abilities as you move on to contemplate. And then when you get into the advanced contemplation level, you can look at something or examine something on a purely scientific, physical level, and then you can move to a mental examination of that object, and you can move to a more etheric level of that object, astral level of that object, and then to the mystic level of that object. And then you can actually move out of contemplation and move into meditation. And meditation is when you become one with that object and experience the life cycle of that object with that object. That's meditation. And usually at that point, the practitioner moves Kundalini up the spine, either partially or fully, to a particular psychic center in order to do that, in order to merge with another object, in order to merge its consciousness with that other object in full awareness of what it's doing. Okay? So that's meditation. Now, most people do not experience meditation. They do not, they misinterpret meditation. But that's true meditation. Everything else is movement towards meditation. Okay? So that's where most people get it wrong.
Is there a correlation between Kundalini rising and the devil archetype? So he goes on further. Would you agree with the teaching of the Law of One, which states the devil archetype represents the illusion of the material world and the appearance of evil, but is more accurately the provider of catalysts for the growth of each entity within the third density illusion?
No, I don't agree with all of that. That sounds like Aleister Crowley. So, no, I don't agree with that. Kundalini is the vehicle of consciousness for the soul. And if you study the pattern of Kundalini in the ancient texts, you'll see where the soul manipulates this Shakti power, brings it inside the auric envelope that the soul has built for itself, and pushes this down through Shushuna, down to the base of the spine, and there Kundalini falls into a 3.5 energy configuration, which they call a 3.5 knot, and then it's called, this Shakti power then is called Kundalini. And then, and because why? Because it goes dormant in order to express Shiva on a lower plane of existence, and then it it becomes the provider of all energy, endless energy, as far as we're concerned, and it becomes the destroyer, but in the sense that as you awaken Kundalini, it destroys the veils on your different senses, where you allow your senses to merge, and that's where I was talking about the merging of the senses, because it's the Kundalini power that allows you to burn the thin veil between the physical and astral senses and allow them to merge, and then you have psychic centers, and then it burns use Kundalini again to burn the veils over the psychic senses and the etheric senses, and then they merge, and then you have a spiritual sense. So, and at that point, you rule over the lower realms. The lower realms cannot rule over you at that point, because you gain access to those lower chakras that allow you to manipulate all that energy that's radiated through the lower chakras. At will, you become an adept, in a sense, over the lower chakras, which is each chakra represents various realms of existence. And for a point, Aleister Crowley was a black musician, one of the worst black musicians, too. So that's a point of reference.
The Law of One was a series of.
I know what it is.
Remember those? Okay.
I know, but they got that from his teachings.
Mm-hmm.
That came from Aleister Crowley teachings. They need to go back and look at it.
Can you discuss the difference between discrimination and discernment? And does it pertain to the realm being assessed?
Does it? The what now?
The difference between discrimination and discernment.
What do they mean by discernment?
I think isn't it the same thing?
What?
Discriminate and to discern. The same thing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. What do they mean by discernment? It's like what I was saying earlier. You say power,
Mm-hmm.
No, they didn't answer back.
Nothing yet.
Well, discrimination is discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
You have to discriminate against certain teachings. The problem with metaphysics, and especially in this country, and it looked like it's becoming a problem throughout the world, that they walk away from known laws. They begin to see things in this airy-fairy way, and it's not like that. And there are specific rules, regulations, and laws that govern everything, and it's been given to us in the teachings. And the only thing we have to do is recognize them. I don't know how, and that's why you have to discriminate. Like most people would say, well, most people don't understand forgiveness. They'll say, well, I can go and ask forgiveness from Jesus. Okay, let me know when he gives you the forgiveness. Because Jesus was the one who said, as you sow, so shall you reap. So in other words, he's going to go against his description of the law. You can personally forgive someone, but that doesn't mean that the absolute is going to forgive them. It's not going to work like that, because we work. We live in a divine law, and the divine law is a divine law. And for something to change, that means that it wasn't perfect. And therefore God never changes. God never changes. It's constant. The laws of God is constant. The laws of karma is constant. So we need to be able to recognize those laws and then stand by those laws. And then we will see a spiritual attainment, But this airy-fairy thing that's plaguing the New Age and metaphysical world, we need to move away from that. And I think it was Dr. George King who stressed this thing about discrimination, and he was absolutely correct. We need to discriminate. If we see someone slipping or pulling out or saying something that doesn't make sense, we need to tell them it doesn't make sense, or walk away from them. As an example, to show that what they're doing is not real, or goes against the laws. Also, who said that? Swami Vivekananda said that if you find that someone is teaching these metaphysical teachings and is going against the core traditional teachings, then you need to call that person under question. You cannot. You have to discriminate against them, because usually, if what they're saying is right, it blends into the to the teachings, not the cultural part of the teachings, the core teachings, the core principles of the teachings. Because of course we know that in Christianity you have a culture that developed around the teachings. In Buddhism you have a culture that developed around Buddhism. No, we don't follow the culture. We follow the core teachings. In Hinduism, you have the same thing. You have a culture that develops around that. The same thing in Judaism. You have this culture, and usually it's these cultures that's stained with the impurities. But the core teachings is a metaphysical scientific teachings that will play out itself every time correctly. If there's no more questions, then we can probably close out. It's 2:00. What time did we start? How long we been here?
We've been going an hour and 10 minutes, as per my clock here.
Is there any other questions?
I have some questions about manipulating your aura.
Mm-hmm.
So mantra spins the aura
Mm-hmm.
and throws down some scars or burns them up. Does mantra have other effects on the aura? Can mantra expand the aura or contract the aura?
Yeah, it can. It can. I mean, if you're spinning the aura, that's what's happening. It looks like the aura is going in and out. In fact, when you chant the mantra, the aura spins so fast that at one point, if you that's why I recommend everyone to during your vacation times or whatever, take a day or two and just chant mantra all day long. Mm-hmm. And what you'll notice, if someone look at you, they'll notice that your aura becomes almost like a crystal. It takes this almost ovoid crystal shape when you get deep into the mantra. And it seems to glow and like move, vibrate, go in and out, you know. And it's a cleansing of your aura. You're actually recalibrating yourself, really. So it has an effect on you, a real effect that you'll see, and you're the only one that can actually feel it or see it. I mean, a psychic can see it and feel it, but not the way you, who just went through that experience, you know, of chanting that mantra all day, all night, you know, and at least during its awakening periods, and just decoding your auric fields, you know, instead of just, you know, doing whatever on your vacation time, you know.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, I guess, mask your aura in order to hide your presence?
What do you mean?
So I was reading, there's visualization techniques that you can use to like expand the aura, contract the aura, or to mask the aura so no one can know you're in the area or sense your presence.
I mean, how this going to how this going to help you right now?
I just had to get one in.
Where you are? I
The
mean,
year's
what is
over.
going to do? I mean, how is that going to help you? I mean, right now, how is going to help you?
Well, as a kid, there was a game I would play where I'd try and get as quiet as possible and move around the house and surprise my family.
Well, I mean, that's a old martial arts technique. You know, I mean, that's on a physical level, but on a mental level, someone still can detect you. You know, I mean, if anyone I know come within, I don't know, within a mile of me, I sense them. So if they come within a couple 100 yards, I know that I could feel their feet hitting the pavement. So, but I mean, that's, you know, you can't stop that unless you are a highly advanced being who, you know, who can control those things. But on a basic level, I mean, you have to be able to really be able to manipulate energy not to, you know, because even someone projecting a shade of themselves or even their astral body, you can sense them coming into the area, you know, and especially if you have put up a barrier around the place where you're at. When they come to that barrier, all of a sudden everything goes up, and you can feel or sense them there, you know, and almost a precise spot they in. So, I mean, your auric body is very powerful. So wherever you send a portion of that, the power is still there, and you can feel that person and the link of wherever they at. So you have to be very advanced in order to do that. So don't, you know, I mean, the physical part, of course, the martial arts, they can do that. They can lower their presence, their physical presence, and move, you know, through a place undetected. But a keen person would know that they're there, you know. In fact, a good soldier would know that they're there, or a hunter would know that they're there.
Uh, I think that's it.
Okay, then we're gonna we'll see everybody next year.
Yes. Do you see the comments? See the chat anymore?
What's that?
What's this,
Hmm.
just Loretta saying thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in throughout 2017 for your great discussion and questions. We wish you a prosperous 2018. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Where did I put this thing? The New Lord's Prayer. O divine and wondrous Spirit, O everlasting Lord of hosts, send forth now through me thy great and lasting power. Allow me, Almighty God, the lasting privilege of radiating to all the world thy great love, so that those who suffer may be given the power and energy to rise above their weaknesses. Almighty God, in great humility do I ask you to send forth your power, to give to me this great lasting privilege of being a channel, so that my suffering brothers may be helped and guided and healed and lifted into thy light, so that they who know not may look up and in doing so receive to their higher selves your divine counsel. Almighty God, this day have you granted me a divine privilege. I ask you now to give to me the strength so that never again will I turn from my inner vision of you. O great peace, great peace, great peace. In praise of your greatness, O God, doth my soul sing. Grant it energy to sing on forever and forever. All right. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in January.